Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. I think you sound good. Okay.
Love me tender.
Dude, you want some background?
Slow.
I'll give you some background music for that guy. Yeah, he's gonna rap. Jake rap.
Down, get on down. I said, hey, everybody, take a look at me. I got street credibility. May not have a job, but I have a good time with the boys. I beat down on the line. I said, I don't need you, so who cares if you disapprove? Yeah, all right. A cool cat leather from my head to toe. I'm a soul boy, I'm a joke boy. I believe in pleasure, take instant. Get on down. I said, get on down. Get on down. I said, get on down. Hey, everybody, take a look at me.
Yes, no way, dude. We just got the clap, which means we're starting, apparently. Thanks, Onok. I love you, buddy. No way, Jake. Freestyler.
It's the name of the game.
Yes, it is, dudes.
I'll just break it I'll break it down for you.
Okay, break it down.
To just put myself even more of a vulnerable position. That was written by Wham.
So they were Wham, are they Wham lyrics?
That's a Wham lyric.
No way.
Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael.
And you just recited it?
Straight up.
Straight from the 80s?
Straight up. I've got more of it, but I'm not going to bust out right now. I told you that was Wham.
I've got more sounds, if you need more sounds.
I'm sure Kish is full. He's got an arsenal of beats and tunes.
You're a bit of a DJ, Kish, aren't you?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No.
Yeah, he is.
I've seen the soundboard and turntables here.
Hobby, man. Hobby.
Classic.
We
gotta start the sound.
We actually have done a double act before Xavier Rudd. We were the introduction band.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I wouldn't say any band. We're called the Space Monks.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
We opened for Xavier when he played at the Drift at Ulu's.
Yeah.
At the Villas, yeah.
So what, DJ set?
Straight up reggae.
Straight up.
And funk. A little bit of funk.
A little bit of funk, a little bit of reggae, a little bit of roots.
Mad.
Yeah, it was epic.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
The crowd was ready, super high vibration, so we didn't have to do much.
Yeah.
But I think we did good.
It's time and place kind of thing, you know. Every once in a while, the Space Monks come down from out there.
We are going to do our second. Actually, no, it will be our third.
Intergalactic.
The second we had some issues.
Issues? Like tech issues?
Emotional.
What?
Yeah,
we won't go into it.
Let me guess. You wouldn't take a song request?
No, it was between Kish and me.
Oh, okay.
We were having some issues that day.
we worked through it.
Do you guys ever argue?
Not
that one time we did.
Yeah.
It was kind of like just a disagreement.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a miscommunication.
About track selection?
No.
It was life.
It was life.
There was more going on.
Yeah.
But do you think that's the hallmark of a great friendship?
Yeah. Well, not that we argue, but that we are still friends, you know.
You can make up. You can make up and put yourself in the other person's position and take a look from that other perspective. I think that was pretty key.
Yeah. I love it, dude. Anyway, so let's get started officially. So this is for Clementine and Otis. All right, so head over to terriblehappytalks.com and you can find a link to the sponsors that support this podcast. There's a variety of promo codes that you can use. You get discounts, and I want to thank those sponsors for supporting the podcast, and I want to thank the people that support the sponsors by using the promo code. All that stuff. It just helps to keep this show on the road. So let's do it. Thank you. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks. Yeah. Good to meet you, man. Whoa. Good on purpose. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. All right. Do this. Today's guest is founder of the Drifter Surf Shops in Bali, surfer, charger, parent, entrepreneur, and all-round rad human, Mr Jake Mackenzie. This week, Jake is with me live and on location at Drifter Surf Shop in Bingin, Bali to check in, share journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mr Jake Mackenzie, welcome.
Thank you for that introduction.
No worries. And a special shout out to friend, inspiration, and this week's co-host, Mr Kristyan Stjerne.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings and salutations.
What do they call you, Kish?
Whew, long story. When I was a kid, my sisters couldn't pronounce Kristyan, so they called me Krish, and then it turned to Kish, and I haven't been able to shake it since.
It's got a spiritual vibe to it, Kish. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a dyslexic person who can't say fish.
Or Krishna, just Kish.
So good.
Yeah.
Listen, man, it's such a treat having you two together. Straight away, like the second I sort of see you guys together, there's just such a rad like vibe and energy, and just really can tell there's just a long, solid friendship there. You guys just got back from Sumba on a surf trip. Jake, how many times have you been on surf trips with Kish?
So let me just clarify surf trip. I like to call it more of a regeneration experience.
Right. Yeah, we need it.
Okay, technically it's a surf. It's a surf trip, but it's like recharging the batteries.
Did you need that?
Yeah.
Why?
I've been pretty much powering. I've been pretty much powering and really putting a lot of mental, mind, energy, and power into work, into this project that I've been working on for a little while, and so I just needed to just unplug. And Sumba is such an epic opportunity. Like both Kish and I we've been there a couple times together now, and separately a bunch of separate occasions. And we've done a few trips over the years together to random different places around the planet. Mm-hmm. Like Sri Lanka would be kind of up high on that list, and Sumba. So amazing. Sumba's just back in time.
Oh, dude, I can imagine. I've never been there. I've been to Sumbawa, but. Do you feel like Bali's really coming to life again?
100%, yes.
Do you think maybe that was a cause of some like built up tension and anxiety for you dealing with the last 2 years as a businessman in this country? Definitely there was tension and anxiety, and I also think that was an awakening in itself to realize, that the strong parts of our life and our business remain, and the stuff that was no longer really serving a purpose and was, you could call it weak or not as important, was let go of. Yeah.
And I think there was moments at the beginning of the pandemic for me as a businessman, and as a parent having to look after kids, and as an employee having to look after a lot of employees and feeling responsible, that there was fear. I was afraid. Definitely.
Really?
Oh, definitely. Just like the wheels of the billy cart were falling off.
Like, despite being so established in Bali, like how long have you been here for?
I've been in Bali about 20 years.
Wow. And how long have you had a business here for?
For about 15, 16 years.
Would you say, like, you've probably endured a lot in that time? Would you say that it was the hardest time since you've been here?
Yeah, I think it's the hardest and the most rewarding.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
No way, dude.
I think the whole experience, what we've just been through, really highlighted what's important in life for me.
Yeah.
And also pinpoints the importance of community.
Yeah.
And and who your friends are, and who your confidants are, and who the people you spend time with, and who you want to spend more time with. For me, it became very clear. It was like, there's no time to waste. It's like, I want to be around energy and vibrations and people that uplift. Of course, I'm in the world, and the reality is we're around all sorts of people all the time, but people I want to give energy to and receive energy from, I can choose. Yeah. And so once again, it was like this incredible polarity of like seemingly difficult obstacle, hardship, in reality became an incredible learning experience and teacher.
Teacher.
And then you bring it down to the, if you're asking about business, yeah, business was tough. And then biggest learnings I've ever had in my life.
Did it make you innovate and be more creative?
Absolutely. I kicked off. I felt like I actually went into another gear. Yep.
Dude, this is so inspiring.
Yeah, I felt like I was able to really start just reaching deep inside and just making extra effort, not pulling back, diving in. And that's what I did.
No way, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What personal techniques do you use, aside from going on rad surf trips with good friends?
Yeah.
Right. What other personal techniques do you employ on a daily basis to manage that disease at times, monkey mind?
Meditation is key.
Okay. And that's what I was sort of leading to.
Yeah, the beginning of the day, I like to sit and just spend 20, 25, 40 minutes, depending on what my day's planned out. And I've been training, Kish and I have actually been training together at the same establishment, you could call it, or gym. And that's a 7 a.m. session. Right. So kicking off the day with that, and then doing ice bath and sauna and infrared.
Dude, I was talking to Kish about this earlier. So I read a thing recently how important it is for men 40 plus to do lift heavy things in terms of boosting testosterone levels, because it really starts to deplete after 40. So yeah,
that's what we do.
It was really beautiful on this last trip. We were all rooming together in the same structure, and I woke up every morning to seeing Jacob underneath the mosquito net looking like a Buddhist statue, that was like, I have these burnt images in my mind of just waking up at 4 a.m. and Jacob already in like deep meditation, and it inspired me to get back into my morning meditation, and
right.
I could feel the power of us both meditating simultaneously together in the same space. It like magnified it. See,
that was a question I had for you. Like, do you feel a need to meditate, or does your art just provide you with that mental solace?
Definitely, there's like moving meditation and that type of meditation, but Zazen meditation of sitting, legs crossed, spine erect, slowing the breath, watching the conscious thoughts go through and by and seeing what comes in and comes out, and how it's a different type of meditation that, I kind of went away from, and then hanging with Jake this last week, I found when I got back, I kept it going, so.
Did you?
Yeah, super cool.
It's so, the company we keep is so important, like the inspirational company.
That's it. That's part of the awakening for me on the level of, that whole 80-20 thing. You talk about that in the business structure, where you're spending, 20% of your time making 80% of your return, and you're spending 80% making 20. So you got to figure out, well, I should be focusing on that 20 more, and I should be expanding on that. So look at relationships. So if I'm in a relationship with people and I want to give more love and grow it more, then I need to be spending that much time on the relationships I want to grow, and we have the power to choose. It's not like there's some random emotional trigger. It's like, no, I have the power to choose exactly who, when, and where I engage. And for meditation, for me, in that respect, it really is that re-empowerment, re-energize of that core navigation system. And then I just want to say too, so in Sumba, our friend Kristyan C and his wife Ka'ale and their daughters Lele, Dehahati and Kamali'i are beautiful. And so to be there in that environment, it's also very inspiring and very, not comforting, but inspiring is probably the right word, inspiring. And I did a permaculture design course with them earlier in the year with Ziggy. And I did this experiment where I meditated every day for 2 weeks. I did like a 40-minute to an hour meditation every morning. And I was so buzzed. And then I'd go and plant and cut tree and, just work in the permaculture environment. And I recorded myself every day just talking about what happened in the meditation. And it was a really empowering experience, not only to do a permaculture design course and learn about the regenerative principles of permaculture, but also to be in that whole energy of a group dynamic, 20 people, lots of different egos, including mine, and just navigating through that and having the foundation on this quiet start to the day.
Were you able to transfer that buzz back to everyday living, everyday chores, everyday chaos when you came back? Because let's face it, it sounds epic, but somewhere like that, it's not reality for many people.
Yeah.
So were you able to transition back?
Yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it? That's enlightenment right there. Being able to maintain that peace and calm and serenity and equanimity throughout the day on the motorcycle, in the crowded waves, engaging with people. So no, the answer is no. But there are moments, right? I mean, for me, when I'm engaging in those spiritual activities, like I read from the basic text of AA, right? I read 86 and 87, how to start your day. And I'm reminded, thy will, not mine, be done. How can I be of maximum service today? When I'm in that mindset, beautiful. But I often veer out of that and go to the, fear and the ego and the, all that stuff. The human nature, what we want to call
the human condition.
The human condition. So to answer that question, no.
Thanks for being so honest. Like,
Have to be honest.
But I guess now you are open to employing these techniques that work for you, and when you start to, run rough, you can go, okay, listen, I need to go and do this, and I'm going to come back. Like that's just healthy living. That's smart living. Whereas I feel like where I live, sometimes people get to that sort of headspace, and then they feel like they can't take a break, and so then they look for ways to numb out. And that doesn't have to be with substances at all. We numb out in so many different ways, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
One of my yoga teachers said, it's easy to be a monk up in a cave in the hills. It's more challenging to be a monk in society. Around people in an urban environment.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where we're needed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying monks, but yeah, that's where we need it. Like I got a good friend in Hong Kong, Bombie, who's got beautiful vegan restaurants, right? And he is the antithesis of Hong Kong. Like he wears dresses, he has feather in his long hair. He's just a character, and he's in the middle of the most consumer commercial city in the world. And I'm like, bro, move to Bali and do your thing. But he's like, no, this is where I'm needed. Yeah. And it's inspiration. Yeah, it's inspiration.
When you go to your Sumba and you see your friend with that beautiful permaculture estate, is it called Nalung Kala?
Yep.
I follow those guys on Instagram and just dreaming of going there, to be honest. That right-hander looks so fun.
What right-hander?
I never went.
He posts it. I guess it's public now, but
yep.
I don't want to know how many years he surfed that by himself, but dude, was that, I guess, when you originally moved to Bali and started a family here? Mm-hmm. Was that correct? Mm-hmm. Was that your original vision, was to provide a lifestyle that is alternative for your family and your children?
I had no idea what was in store.
Right, okay.
The kids themselves were just let the massive curveball into everything. But as a result of that, yeah, it's given me, Bali is such an incredible platform for that, right? We're so blessed to live here and have kids here. Mm. And they have the opportunities that they have here, including traveling to the most beautiful parts of Indonesia and the world for that matter. My kids have had some amazing trips. But yeah, I think Bali is a really magic place.
You still think that after 20 years?
Yes, I do.
You still think that after mass development?
There's magic still here, yes. It's just harder to find, but it is still here.
In what sense?
The culture, the Balinese people, the way they interact with nature, the way they interact with spirit, the way they interact with community and family. When you peel back the layers of that, it's magic. Like for me, I still do these pilgrimages to different temples. I have my good friend Danny. He has a priest that he's followed around Indonesia, so they even go to these ancient temples in Java, up in the near Bingin, East Java, and different places, amongst all the incredible temples in Bali. So I've done some beautiful trips with them, and when I go do those trips, I really feel like I peel a little bit of that, the facade of the cover, and peer into this more sublime, magical Balinese energy. You feel like you're still discovering Bali? Absolutely.
Do you feel the same, Kish?
Of course. Just scratching the surface.
Really?
It's so deep here. It's so, and scratching the surface of Indonesia as well. You know, there's 17,000 islands. One lifetime's, I don't think's enough to really get to be able to completely experience it. You know.
Does it go, like, in your opinion though? Does it go beyond just the culture and the religious practices? Or is there something in the earth?
There's magic. This island.
Is there something in the earth?
This island's a vortex. It's directly linked to the third sun in the Alcyone star. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Go. So.
Yeah, it's power. Like I have had the good fortune of pilgrimaging to several places. Let's just say, Lake Yamanakako on Mount Fuji, and Haleakala and Maui, and the pyramids, and the Acropolis, and even the oracle, the Delphic oracle, and the most magic cave in India. And all these places that are potent. You could say Sedona, Arizona. You could even say Byron on some levels. You could say all these power points, right? And Bali, for me, has invited me and welcomed me and given me so much. I really feel like this island has...
Sorry, I just feel like I'm about to cry, bro. I'm not even joking. Sorry. I felt it I've been coming for 20 years. I felt it for 20 years. And I lived here for a period, and then it just got taken away with the chaos of whatever happened 2 years ago, and I still feel it. And I'm sorry, I just had a little moment then.
But don't apologize.
It's so weird though. I'm just listening to, I see both of your faces lighting up, telling declaring your love for this place.
Well, coming from America to here.
Sorry to cut you off, Jake.
No, totally. I'm with you.
I know you are. Sorry, Kish.
No. Growing up in the States, it was always like an esoteric thing to feel magic, or it was something you'd read in books and you'd get glimpses of it. But here, it's the opposite. There's the magic is everywhere, and the other stuff's secondary.
Yeah.
And it's felt, it's lived, it's a part of the daily life here.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt so at home, and I feel so blessed to be here.
It's amazing, yeah. I surfed at the back of the cliff the other day. I don't want to say the name. I feel, as a surfer, you never say the name, but you know where it is.
Yeah. Papua New Guinea.
Up the reef.
East Papua.
Right, and I was there by myself for a few hours, and I just could not believe. I'm in a very, what would be regarded as a busy part of Indonesia. I could have been a million miles away, So, and you guys are finding those moments.
Definitely. I've had the good fortune of starting to interview a couple of the older legends in Bali.
Have you?
Yeah, I started recording their stories. I've felt really called to do that, to reinvigorate the old original intrepid travelers here and listen to some of their stories. And I was interviewing this guy, Steve Palmer. Steve's the original licensee for Quicksilver. In fact, I think he had all the licenses, Billabong, Quicksilver, Rip Curl at one point. And he's a legend. He's got a killer house right here at Padang. And he's just an all-around solid dude. Still surfs, still snowboards, still goes on trips. A very smart, savvy businessman. Someone I would consider a mentor, actually, on many levels. He's very established, has done very well for himself. So I sat down with him and spoke to him, and the takeaway after everything, he told me a couple of cosmic stories about, like, possessions back in the day of people, Balinese as well as expats who, like, were possessed by spirits, and all these kind of, like, magical mystery trips and experiences that he'd had. And he said the magic was very much alive. You could see it. It was everywhere. And then TV arrived. He said the magic changed when television arrived and when everyone started comparing themselves or realizing what they were lacking. And that consumer, that beginning of that whole, whatever you want to call that, exchange of energy. And he said, but the magic's still here. You just got to look a bit further. Yeah. You've got to look a bit deeper. And I really related to that because I feel the same way. It's like, we see all this magic. Like just right here before, I was like out in the front there waiting, and I saw this beautiful this young lady actually in full ceremony gear doing an offering in the middle of the road, busy intersection, and just in amongst this wild tourist frenzy of motorcycles and the smorgasbord of nationalities toing and froing. There was this Balinese lady with some incense laying an offering in the middle of the road, oblivious to the whole world. But at that moment, I was like, that's the magic. There's a little bit of incense, some prayers,
serene,
and bringing in that energy. And it was just like, it's still here. It's definitely still here.
Have you always been a seeker?
Always.
For as long as you can remember?
Definitely. Many lifetimes. Yes. I'll say yes to that question.
As a child, how did you describe yourself?
Full on. Busy.
Busy?
I think I was very busy. Like, my mum would tell me that oftentimes at the end of the day I would fall asleep in bed with my mask and flippers on.
Like from swimming, diving?
Even in the bathtub I wore a mask and flippers.
Why? Practicing?
Good question. Who knows? Maybe. Just getting ready
Did you grow up
for the Bombie.
Did you grow Actually, I've got a question about the Bombie surf related. Maybe this is the time. What do you think the optimal length board is for big Ulus just when the Bombie's just starting to break?
What size? What size Bombie?
Let's say
6 to 8 foot?
Let's say 6 to 8 foot Bombie, like, which is still in the manageable range.
8 foot.
Like an 8 foot long board.
7, 6, 8 foot. Depending on how much. Like, I've got a Chapman Brewer that's 3.5 inches thick. And it's got so much girth up through the chest that I can pretty much paddle into most things. I'll sit a little bit inside the guys on the 9.0s and the 10.0s.
Yeah.
At that size, I've seen plenty of crew on 10.0s taken off way in the back, or when it's bigger, 10, 12, 15 foot.
Yeah.
But 6 to 8 foot, 7.6.
7.6,
7.6, yeah.
What about you, Kish? Well, sorry to jump straight to surfing, but I thought I'll jump on that while we were talking about it.
Jacob gave me a 7.3 brewer, that one was?
7.3? Yeah.
7.6 maybe.
7.3, 7.6.
And that's what...
That was an exchange, bro. It was a yep.
I traded a painting for a surfboard. And,
good deal.
Yes.
Beautiful painting.
Yeah. And it was such a special board. And
was it a Dick Brewer as well?
Yeah.
Hand-shaped brewer. It had a story to it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what... Bombie's still new to me. I've only been out there, a couple handfuls of time, and but that's what I'll run on the smaller Bombie days, and then on the bigger Bombie days, like a 9.0.
9.0.
Yeah.
Just to get you in safely.
Yeah, but
if there's such a thing as safe out there.
I'm shoulder hopping compared to these guys.
I know.
I'm on an 8.3 Chapman Brewer that's an absolute weapon.
Really?
Thick. Look, I think you can go thick and more volume.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to go long at the Bombie. There are some ways for sure.
Flatter rocker?
Flatter rocker. Easy to easy is not a word I'd use, but more seamless with the paddle.
Okay.
To get in.
Yeah. Narrow tail, obviously.
Little tiny swallow. It's
swallow,
beautiful.
not a pin?
No, this one's a swallow, although my other 7.6 is a pin.
Fin setup?
That is a thruster.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other fin setups do you muck around with in bigger waves?
I've got a quad paddleac, but I really like the Chapman Brewers. From everything, I've surfed all kinds of boards here over the years. They're just something special.
You feel it?
Oh yeah. They're magic.
Yeah. Sorry to just jump on a tangent there, but it was actually one of the questions I wrote down. I'm very curious to pick your brain about sort of some boards, because you stock such amazing surfboards here, and I know that there's a lot of thought has gone into what you stock, correct?
I hope so.
I mean, aside from Dick Brewer, who would you regard as some of your favourite shapers?
Mitchell Ray, Outer Island.
Okay.
Jerry Lopez. Pizel.
I noticed you got some Pizels.
Yeah, we've got some paddleacs here.
Yeah.
I would have to say they're up there. Those names probably suffice in the department of guns.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go Lyle Carlson. He's an amazing shape. He does a lot of go shaping for Dick Brewer.
Yeah.
I mean, Dylan, although I don't ride Dylan's, but Dylan's a very proficient shaper.
Dylan Longbottom?
Dylan Longbottom, yep.
Amazing.
Yep. But Outer Island, Mitchell knows how to get his way, build his way around a gun for sure.
Build his way around.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it forever. Like he's how much? Like 107 now, Mitchell. How old are you?
Like, that's what I often think with like shapers. I have moments I look at boards and go, man, I could do that. I reckon I could do that. But then it's like, well, no, I can't. Like, and can you you can really feel the difference between a Dick Brewer, like someone who's dedicated his whole life, compared to maybe a newer shaper who's had the board machined.
Al Chapman. Not just Dick Brewer, but Al. If you go and surf Sunset, and you surf Sunset, and you're looking around, and you're surfing serious Sunset, 15, 18, 20-foot Sunset.
Terrifying.
The people who are catching the waves are all on Chapmans. You might have a Bushman out there. You obviously have a Brewer maybe, but basically anyone who's worth their salt is paddling into waves, that is, would be on a Chapman. Of course, you've got Peisel, Healy, and the Rothmans. You know, there are people riding John's boards, but Chapman's the man. Chapman.
As a kid, you said that you always had your flippers and your goggles on, so you've been attracted to water from a young age.
Always.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up near the
in
ocean?
Hong Kong.
Right, but it's not really that close.
Hong Kong's got amazing beaches and ocean out the outlying regions.
But no surf.
Small waves.
Really?
Yeah, it's few and far between, but there are typhoon swells. But I didn't really start surfing there. I mean, we did some body surfing, and we did a little bit of surfing, but I really started surfing in Hawaii when I was young. We'd go to Hawaii every Christmas for... My dad would run the marathon.
Do you?
We did, yeah.
Who are you, man?
Well, my dad fell in love with Hawaii in the late 60s.
Who is this guy?
Well, my dad was a lifeguard on the beach. He actually emigrated from Australia to South Africa in 61 with his parents.
There you go.
Became a lifeguard on South Beach in Durban.
There you go.
And he was, living on the beach. And long story short, in 67, he moved to Hawaii to study the restaurant hotel management. He did a little bit of a work experience at the Hilton, Kahala Hilton.
Yeah.
And fell in love with a local family there who became like a Hanai family. It's like a adopted Hawaiian family. And they're still like our family. And he would go back every Christmas to run the marathon.
Wow.
So from the age of about 7, I was Christmas time in Hawaii in Kahala.
So special memories, family
Absolutely.
memories.
And that's when I was kind of introduced to surfing, but not just tasted, you know what I mean?
And now you're doing that with your family.
Yep.
What a tradition.
Yep.
What a
Yep.
legacy.
Yep.
Kish and I were talking about the importance of tradition and legacy. What do you think, Kish? Like we talked about your art being like legacy items.
Yep.
Do you feel like a really well crafted surfboard is a legacy item as well? Would you regard it as that?
Of course.
Even though it's being used for an activity?
Of course. I would. Do you know who the Munoz? What was the
Munoz?
the Munoz family?
Yeah.
The
They're Californian, right?
no Hawaiian.
Oh.
Hawaiian.
Oh.
The Munoz family.
Tony Moniz?
Yeah, and
Oh,
Josh
Moniz?
and yeah.
Oh, yeah, Josh.
Oh, that family.
Tony Moniz, yeah, okay.
Those guys
Yeah.
Josh
rip.
and
They came out last season. He spent a lot of time here, and he was the nicest. A lot of times when the pros come in, and they come to the villas and all that, you really get introduced and see the personalities. You don't get to see the personalities on the screen and in the contest and all that, but
Yeah.
he was just the nicest people. And then to see both of the brothers be in the pipe contest this year, and to see that family and the lineage of his father passing it down to his kids and the whole family, it made me think of like one stoked family, what that does for the culture. And I see that in Jacob because I've spent time with him and his family and watched his kids grow up over the last 10 years now, and to see the stoke that Jake and Vanessa have, and to pass it on to their kids, and to see the lineage then get repeated. And now Ziggy's coming out with us at the corner and in small
Really?
bomb. Yeah.
How old is she?
13.
Man.
Some people call that irresponsible parenting, but, she wanted to.
She,
And Flynn,
Yeah.
Flynn's out
Once
there
that-
now, and
because once outside corner starts breaking, it's real deal, right? Dude. I've been out there.
but you
It's
see
terrifying.
the stoke, not just the surfing passed on, but also the stoke pass on, and the beauty of how they're turned on and how they pass it on to their kid. And it's all it takes to continue this torch, of water interaction and surfing, for lack of a better word. What are we really doing out there? We're not just surfing. We're honoring and blessing and worshiping.
Connecting.
Yeah, all that, you know.
All that. It's so true. Like,
Yeah.
as cliche as it sounds, it's so
Yeah.
important. But I also was just thinking, like, the importance that these families place on society, like these examples of solid families in a society with so many broken families. I think it's so necessary, and I think like when I hear stories as what you've said, and I follow you and your family from afar on social media. Like, I know you take that stuff with a grain of salt. You don't really know what you're watching, but I just think it's just a great example of I don't know, perpetuating, you know, a solid family structure and all that. I don't know. It's needed.
Yeah, I think the ocean is such a healing force.
Yeah.
For me.
Still?
And, you know,
What about when it's
absolutely.
crowded and you got the shits? Is it still a healing force?
Look, you can find what you look like. It doesn't just mean I'm surfing. I still fish and I still free dive and I'm still out there enjoying the ocean. But yeah, it is testing when it's crowded. It is definitely testing. But then you can go find another little break somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not that complicated to do. Like, this side of the island's, the wind's good today. The other side of the island's good today. There's less people on the other side of the island. So I have been doing some hit and runs. Like this morning, I was up at 5. I took Ziggy to Canggu.
Really?
Yeah, she went.
You,
She's trained.
you said that with like an element of like disdain.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not something I do regularly.
But it is
And
a rad beachy. Let's
Oh,
face it.
dude, it was pumping this morning.
Was it?
It was pumping.
I thought it
Everything
would've
was
been
very
small.
like Echo, you know, the wedge, little sandbar, the
Sandbar.
river mouth. It was all pumping.
Was it?
It was pumping. I'll show you some video
So
later.
consistent. I thought it was going to be tiny this morning, so I
Dude,
didn't even.
it was pumping, and so
Had a rest
guaranteed
day.
the wind pattern today, other side would have been good too.
Like
So if you
Nusa
want to,
Yeah. But we don't say the names.
all of it, the whole package. So yeah, it can be frustrating, but I suppose once again, you know, it all comes down to like, you know, what you're willing to. If you are you going to go and explore? I mean, I will get into the habit of, if the tide's 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, and there's swell, and the direction's good, I'm straight out to the wave out in front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get board shaped for it, and I know when it's good, and I hit it, and I've done my time there, so I don't wait. I wait my turn, but I'm also getting sets. You know what I mean?
I understand.
And I'll just go and do that. I know it. Boom. I can set your clock to it. You know, 5 out of 10 times you're going to score.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And then when it's 6 foot to 8 foot, we're out there, and there's a tenth of the people.
Yeah.
So
Sorts of
I don't surf the wave at the end of Ulus when it's 2 to 3 foot ever. I've learnt my lesson. It's just too frustrating.
It becomes
But I'll
a
go
point of
surf.
angst.
Yeah, I'll go surf 4 to 6 foot up the top,
Yeah.
because you know I know most people out there,
Yeah.
and I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But it
yeah.
still doesn't change the fact that it can be frustrating. And
Yeah, it just I guess that I wasn't trying to blindside you with that question. I just, you know, I think a lot of surfers spend a majority of their time surfing in heavy crowds, and it can get really disheartening at times. I know I experience it. I'm just like, I'd rather not surf sometimes than deal with that. And there's been times I get out of the water feeling worse than I did because I paddled around and there's someone on my inside like every time, and I just couldn't get a wave, and then I'm like, this surfing thing, you know. But we
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
look, I was going to go back and just, you know, preface the ocean is a very healing place. And I was just thinking of a moment for me. You asked about the family element of an experience where I had where it was just like a pinnacle peak experience. And that was in Sri Lanka at this wave we like to go to right on the edge of this national park with this ancient, you know, Shiva temple, and then there's 2,300-year-old Buddhist, you know, stupa right down the road, and there's elephants and peacocks and jackals and, you know, all kinds of bird life. And we're in this little spot, 2 to 3 feet. The wave goes for 150 meters, maybe more. And I've been there, and it's like, you know, thigh to chest high sand. And I've been there where we've just been doing circles with all my family and Kish and friends, and just smiling, and just spending, and the light is brighter, and the energy is just raised, and we're just
I'm there
all
right
doing.
now.
So we're doing like there's Elias, there's Pipos, there's hand planes, there's single fins, there's twin fins, there's mats, there's, you know, canoes. There's no canoes, but let's just say there's canoes.
Dude, I'm there.
You know
I'm
what I
like,
mean?
I'm actually there. Just keep going. Keep going.
We just do these circles, and we're just like, just beaming. And to me, I remember that, and it's just like one of the most priceless, if not the most priceless moment of my life, and has nothing to do with anything other than just full stoke. And just sharing with my family and friends. And doing the surfing thing. The surfing thing is the catalyst.
Wow.
So that, to me, that's what I mean when I'm talking about healing, and also the family connection and the friend connection. And, you know, obviously I say that, it's like I was going to say, and that has nothing to do with money. But preface that by saying, well, actually it took us, we had to get a plane, we had to stay in accommodation, we had to rent vehicles, we had to get food, So that there's an adventure to get to that point, to have that experience or that moment in time, that incredible. And I look back at that and it's indelibly etched in my mind forever. So that's, for me, that is a real bonding, powerful, healing experience. And then throw in all the other shit, you know, the crowds, you know, and the skunk surf trips you go on. Like, we've all had plenty of them. And that's kind of the balance.
It's those moments that keep you going.
Bringing the kids and enjoying that with the kids and seeing them light up is a whole nother level of stoke and heart opening. So that's the nice picture, right? I painted a nice picture then.
It was a rad picture. It's a rad story. Thank you.
Sure. And then there's also, at the end of the rainbow, there are these incredible chocolate pancakes that are just made over this open fire by this little Sri Lankan dude in this literally a mud hut with sand floor, and he's just beaming from eye to eye. And we get one of the tuk-tuk drivers to bring it down to the beach for us, and we just gorge on these chocolate banana pancakes. Hey, Kish, how good are they?
Whew. It's good times, good times.
Is it like old school Bali?
Old school.
Or better?
Old school.
Just different, you know.
40 years ago here.
Yeah.
Really?
You drive along the roads and you don't see any cars.
Wow.
You know, where we go, anyway, that little zone, you see a couple of tuk-tuks and you see some elephants. And you might see a pilgrim.
Interesting.
Yeah, they do the pilgrimage there.
What's it like being a parent to teenagers?
I don't call them teenagers. I call them drunken bipolar pirates. It's new to
Why?
me. It's new. I'm learning.
Is it?
It is.
Is it?
It is. It's new, and I'm definitely getting cracked wide open in a whole new way.
Are you? Are you surprised?
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating or expecting
Were you?
it. My
You hadn't heard the
15-year-old.
stories?
Yeah, of course. But when it happens to you, it's like, did you know about having kids before you had kids?
No,
You had no idea, right? But you
No.
heard the stories.
I did.
And then you have it happen, you're like,
And you don't really know.
they didn't tell me any of this.
I know. Why? Why don't they tell us this shit?
Because it'd be zero population growth. No, I don't say that in a negative. But so the teenage thing is, you know, I know where I come from, and I know what I got up to as a boy, as an adolescent, as a man, and I was pretty out of control from a young age.
So,
And my son is not. He's like, Flynn's the oldest, right? My oldest, he's 15, and he's experimenting. He's out there doing what teenagers do, and being a recovering person, recovering alcoholic. I have a tendency to go to the extreme, and in this case, it's like he doesn't have that same gene, from what I can see.
really?
So it's an interesting one. I'm like, I've got to be really like more accepting. I really do need to. And Vanessa balances that very much.
So you were sober when you conceived him?
Yes.
See, maybe it's just not in his DNA now because you were sober. I'll be honest. That's for me. Like, I mean, I was sober years before we had our first child, and I feel so enriched thinking about the fact that my children will never see me drunk. They've never seen me with a drink, and already they notice it. They say, "Daddy, you don't drink beer like the other men." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't," and they feel safe. And it's like, I think it's like the best gift you can give a kid, and maybe Flynn is that gift of all your self-honesty. Would you say?
Yes, I would say there's definitely a part of that. I think it's environmental as well as genetic, but I might have another one in one of the other kids. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
you're real about it?
Not that I'm not pulling that one in, but there is a possibility, you know. And I think it is a genetic imprint, and it is a karmic imprint, and it is a yes, I do believe so. I think it's environmental, but I also think there is DNA in there. I've read enough stuff.
Okay, I'm not questioning it. I'm just
for me, I'm okay with that concept of, for me, the experience of going to hell and experiencing what I experienced, then coming back to the other side, is golden. And it was an absolute intrinsic part of my story to be in a position where I can help others and be of optimal service to others. So in the sense of it being a curse, I don't look at it like that anymore. It's like they say, you know, stick around long enough, you know, to have a life worth living. You know, don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle. What's the miracle? The miracle is the complete switch of perspective. No, it's not about me. I'm in the position to help others. So being an alcoholic and a recovering person is not a curse. It's a blessing. So if one of my kids has to go through that, it's not in my hands. It's in God. If I truly surrender it, it's not up to me anyway.
Yeah.
If there's a spirit of the universe, and it's not. I'm not calling the shots. So if that's their lesson, because I do believe it's like my kids chose me as their father, as your kids, you know, and it's like they.
You believe that?
I do, absolutely. I believe in karma. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in the optimal birth for the lessons I need to learn in this lifetime, and I believe the same for my kids, for everyone. Depends, you know, how many layers do we have to dig? You know, it's like, yes. So that's the simple answer to the question. As far as if my kid or kids have a propensity to ingest chemicals or alcohol like I did pre-birth, they may have had that ailment in another lifetime with other things, maybe sex, money, power, whatever. You know what I mean? There's a list. And they suffer from that in another body, they'll bring it into this body as karma. And they may be able to iron it out, and they may learn the lesson and be able to transcend it and move on, as I hope I have in this body in this lifetime. Right? I can stem that particular soul sickness, because I think that's what it is. It's like, maybe sickness is a strong word. It's a lesson. It's definitely a lesson. And it's spiritual, as well as physical and mental, as we know. So...
Dude, high five. Seriously. That's just a really profound rant. A bunch of questions popped up. Kish, you want to jump in with the question? Okay, because I guess I got a question going on a more very simplistic plane to what you just sort of went on. You know, you've heard of the concept of nature versus nurture. You know, I'm also of the mindset on a practical level, if you can keep them busy and keep providing these experiences, get them in the ocean, get them constantly active. I noticed that your amazing daughter Ziggy is like competitively surfing, you know, quite well. Do you think there's an element of that as well, like just continually keeping them busy? You think?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that nurture versus nature on the level of people who have trauma from a young age. You could even say in the womb, you know, kids who are, you know, their parents are either potentially violent. There might be violence in the household, or drug addiction, or shouting, or negative energy, or microwaves. Who knows? They're affected in the womb, right? And I think our early imprints as youth, we get, you know, we have, for lack of a better word, trauma. Maybe emotional, maybe whatever it is, you know, being a child of violence, or just emotional incest, or potentially sexual, you know. So it's called trauma. And if you come from a balanced, healthy household, and we can define what a balanced, healthy household is, that would be a good definition. Let's just say that there's a lot of love and support and non-judgment, and opportunities to express their natural God-given gifts that they're born with, then I think that is more of a nurturing environment. That doesn't change the fact that I still feel that child or children, twins, whatever, chose that incarnation. And so they may have previous lessons to learn, and they're born into that environment where it's optimal to experience the life they're meant to live. All the choices or options that they have along the way, through free will, that they can make. But so going back to answer your question, yeah. So we've had a healthy early life for my kids, mostly. Like Vanessa and I have argued, and we've had situations and circumstances happen that may have caused trauma. But I think generally speaking, they've grown up in a very balanced household.
Okay. Do you protect them from arguing and things like that and adversity?
I don't think that's real. I think the world is full of adversity. But
do you think sheltering a child from adversity is detrimental?
That's a loaded question. But yes, I do think that children need to understand on some levels the world as it really functions. There are bad people out there. Bad things do happen.
Yeah.
And that's reality. And I think, yeah, that's a big question. Just ask Shannon.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm just curious. I'm curious. In the household, though, I personally believe sheltering a child from mum and dad arguing from time to time, if it's at a certain level, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that the children need to see that, and then they also need to see the parents reconciling. And I think it's resilience building in this very, adverse world we live in. I don't know. That's something that I just...
No, I agree with you completely on that point.
Nice, man. Now listen, Drifter is probably my most favourite surf shop in the world. I'm not just saying that. Here's a question. Did you name it after that Rob Machado movie?
It was the same time. Yeah, no, it was the same time, and we ran it past Rob. Originally, it was going to be called Barong.
You did run it past Rob?
Yeah, we ran it past Rob.
And he was down, obviously?
He was so down. It was going to be called... There was a few names, and then Drifter it's Drifter. There was never a doubt.
It works.
And, and it was a similar time for Rob when he was doing that film. And we ran it past Rob, and he was, totally cool with it.
Yeah.
I think there was a Shelter surf shop at one point. You know what I mean? So it's been named after a different movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Drifter is, it was,
Are you still inspired by your business, by this place?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I can feel it in here. Do you have any, vision of, creating more?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel the community aspect of what we've created here is so key.
Right.
And just expanding on how we can create more creative community and how we can bring people together more in a way that's productive. And I don't want to use the word healing, but let's just use the word healing that's positive for community.
Yeah.
I think we can facilitate that here, and I think there's many layers to what we do and who we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to I'm still passionate.
I noticed you're doing more live events. Is that part of the vision as well, to build that community through that?
Definitely.
Music,
art.
We're
going to do some galleries coming up soon. Kish is going to be doing a gallery here.
Are you, Kish?
Yeah.
Rad. Do you that was something I actually have been meaning to ask you. Do you do a lot of art shows?
I haven't.
Or have you in the past?
A very long time. I haven't done. The last showing of my work was in Berlin.
Okay.
And I don't really do too many art shows.
Interesting.
I've done a lot of group shows, but I haven't done too many solo shows.
Yeah. Just, I could imagine that would be a lot of pressure and stress.
No, it's just my paintings take so long to make that I can only do one or two a year, or a couple a year.
Yeah.
So it's no stress though, It's nothing like that. I enjoy it because, like we were speaking earlier, I don't get a chance to show too many people my work. Once the paintings are done, they're shipped off, and I never get to see them again. So I love to see them in a crowded room and see people interact with them, and I feel like it's when the paintings come to life,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's so cool, man. I haven't asked this question before. How did you two meet originally?
We met in Ubud. Jake was at a vegan restaurant doing a Surf Yogi's delivery.
Yeah.
And that's when he was doing the Surf Yogi's sunscreen thing. And
amazing.
And I said, oh, Surf Yogi's. I love Surf Yogi's. I'm a surfer and a yogi, and we just bonded. He's like, here, take some sunscreen. And we just bonded right then. And that was about 10 years ago.
Nice, man.
Yeah. And there's been a synergy ever since, you know.
Yeah, you feel it when you meet some people like that. I've got like 5 friends in my life. Like, as soon as I've met them, we've just gone like, yes.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain it. I just like,
but you know, like we talk about past life stuff and different incarnations, and I've gotten glimpses into past life stuff with Jacob. And,
really?
Oh yeah.
In what way? Like, explain that, because like, I mean, I love hearing these things, but there's people who would trip out on that and go, "What's he talking about? What?"
Well, it's just like,
how do you know?
We always talk about, you know, our octopus gardens and the Akasha records and stuff, and there's things where there's just too much, you know, kind of deja vu, like too much knowing. Yeah. You know, of innate stuff that resonates inside of me when I speak with him and when we talk about story. And, you know, I've had some of my best moments in life with Jacob, you know, so waves shared, trips, like we said, like these moments that he was speaking of Sri Lanka. And, you know, had the honor of being on the shoulder watching Jake, you know, worship the temple and seeing him in the barrel navigating and coming out, and vice versa. Some of my best waves I've shared witness. And then we're always about the party wave unless it's like pretty critical, always. So I've shared waves with him, or we've been in he's always like go, and I'm always like go, you know, and it's just special, you know.
I think there's a familiarity too. I think that's a word you could use. And
from, you know,
I wasn't going to say this. Yeah, I think there's just this shared, like, it's a pretty deep rabbit hole of a topic, but the idea of us being able to access other lives' information, you know, that's, you could say, the idea of the Akashic record, which is this you could even call it a quantum field of information of everything that's ever happened, is happening, and will happen, and plugging into it like ascended masters or advanced spiritual beings have full access to that information because they are beyond the veil of this limited 3D dimensional spacesuit we're sitting in right now having this conversation. The access to alternative dimensions is much more open to them. And I think we sometimes, through some modalities, you could call it through plant medicine, through psychedelics, through meditation, through breath work, you glimpse past that veil and have access to a much vaster fountain or reservoir of knowledge. And if you are at the level where you feel like you have experienced reincarnation, or you feel like you've lived before, I have that knowing myself, you know, like, no doubt for me. Like, I've seen some past lives I've had very clearly. And so there's not a question. It just, there's a knowing. And also, how do you access that knowledge? How do you access the positive aspects of it, like skills you might have had in a different life, languages you might have spoken in a different life? You just have familiarity with places. You just have a knowing with people. You keep connecting with people in different bodies and different lifetimes. So that's just that's the broad stroke. Like, before I met Kish, I had this really interesting meditation experience where I saw this dreadlock, Rasta, sadhu, surfing, and just being so stoked. Just, it was more like I actually touched the energy of the experience and not the person, the energy of Kish. And then I met him, and I was like, oh yeah, it's the same energy.
No way.
So that was my experience, and it was more about this, like, this energy of rekindling a memory of a soul that I've had experience with and shared journey with. And then I've seen other stuff too in my inner eye, which just solidifies that knowing for me. You know, I say that, and it's like, each to their own. You know, I can understand those who are like, no, you know, at the end, the ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and sweet.
And like,
cool.
Call us crazy and this stuff, but it's real to us, you know.
Yeah.
And many people.
And I've had visions of having an older brother who, you know, I grew up with sisters, so for me, the desire to always have a brother figure, and that, you know, I've always yearned for that and wanted to receive that. And when I met Jacob in this life, you know, he really took me under his wing as an older brother would, and started showing me things that in a brotherly way, not just as a friend way. And for me, you know, the way my mind works and my spirit works and things coming through me, I always feel a little bit shy and embarrassed to share these kind of deep inner things that come through. And I know when I speak with Jacob and we commune together through conversation and stuff, I can tell him any of my wildest dreams and thoughts, and he's right there with it, being like, yep, oh yeah, and I also did it. And we go back and forth with this dialogue, and it makes me feel, you know, human, and makes me feel sane, and makes me feel like myself, you know, because of the reflection we have with each other.
So we get past
So
this.
good, bro. It's so healing. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Jake, but I think so many people hold on to things that they don't want to. Like, it's special, bro. Like, this open dialogue between friends needs to be more common. And maybe it's common in Bali in these circles and Ubud and wherever. But I feel like in many Western societies, and including, I'm reflecting on specifically where I'm from, is that to have an open dialogue conversation like that and speak deeply from the heart, there's so much trepidation and fear of ridicule and judgment, but it's so necessary.
So necessary.
You know, and I like when you say that openly in a public forum. Like, I think it's just so healing for so many people to hear, and let's normalize that. You know,
Yeah,
and just maybe identify the importance of having those soul connections and identifying them and seeking them as well.
Definitely.
So, anyway.
So going back to this idea of what Drifter, what we're offering and what we want to migrate more into and what we want to present and be more connected with, this idea of sharing in community, in creative community, you know, in healing community, in being vulnerable in community. So the Cosmic Well, which we're hosting tomorrow night, has been this talk story evening and experience where people get vulnerable. So, you know, true tales told live.
I love the concept. So would it be like comparable to like a TED Talk?
Yeah, so look, there's a series called The Moth. And The Moth essentially is stories of people who have had an experience where they've never been the same again afterwards. And obviously in recovery we have our stories, and we share these stories, these seemingly tragic events that turn into these incredible opportunities, and you know, the obstacles become, you know, opportunity, right? So the Moth is, not the Moth, the Cosmic Well is like that.
Okay, that's the concept.
Yeah, so it's like talk story, and it basically, it enables people to talk about taboo subject, get vulnerable,
So
and share and inspire others to do the same. So that, to me, is the next phase in development of Drifter, is like, it's continuing to grow all the elements of the body, mind, soul experience.
Progression.
Yeah.
Taboo subjects. So you mentioned, and look, it's quite topical at the moment, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable here, but we discussed it just before the podcast. You said one of your speakers tomorrow night is going to openly talk about her experiences with plant medicine in the scope of someone that's spent a lifetime of sobriety. I'm just curious, like, as someone yourself who has many years of, you know, sobriety and has dedicated their life to that journey and use it as a guide, can you maybe give us a bit of an insight as to what's your take on that? Someone utilising a plant medicine during said sobriety.
It's a good question there, Shan.
And
There's
listen,
a lot of
brother,
layers to that. Yep.
I'm not trying to bring you on Stark or anything like that.
Look,
I think it's quite
I think
important.
it's really important for me to be in the position of suspending my judgment.
Okay.
Because I would be the first to be judgmental, and I have been over the years, very much so. And in this case, I think it's very important to honor everyone's journey. You know, what I like to say this in meetings sometimes: what could save my life could kill you. Gotcha. And what could kill you could save my life. So
That's heavy.
I don't want to put a broad, sweeping, generalized statement saying this is absolute. Because when I hear anyone talking absolutes, I'm always a little bit leery of that absolute conversation. So in this case, I, at this point, have not been called to do that particular form of, whatever you want to call it, journeying through plant medicine and maybe uncovering truths about myself that were deeply buried, and I wasn't able to look at using the tools of working the steps and the other tools that we're taught. I think in cohesion with recovery, the 12 steps, having a sponsor, having sponsees, then, I mean, each to their own. I mean, I would not recommend it for anyone who's new in recovery, personally. And I haven't done it in recovery, so I don't speak from experience of actually knowing what the result is, but I've done enough research to understand that from my perspective and understanding, it's like you get to see yourself as a mirror of how you're interacting on this planet with the earth, with relationship with self, with relationship with all the elements around, and it's a very quick recalibration, and you get to see yourself, if you're open to that, and how you can adjust and rejig your sails and recalibrate and come back onto the path if you're off the path. Or it can be an accelerator to dig through traumas. I mean, I know a friend who did an ayahuasca journey, and he's not in recovery, and he had done a few. And he had this experience where he had the mother come to him in this embodied form, and these beings all around him, and they did some kind of psychic surgery on him. And he's a yogi, and he'd been practicing for years, and he had this really deep groin issue that he wasn't able to get into certain advanced yogic positions, and he'd been working on it with teachers. And in the process of this one session, these beings came in and did this surgery on him, and he wasn't affected by that moving forwards. So once again, I have to suspend judgment, and I constantly need to be reminded that I'm not in charge, that God is, and if that, whatever you want to call it, God, Goddess, Krishna, Christ, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, Moses, Mahavira, then that's your trip, and I need to remember that, I need to be tuning in.
You'll stand out of the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I haven't been called. I hear people talking often about being called by the mother, being called by the plant medicine, and then coming into a situation where it's perfectly laid out in front of them. They met the person, they're in the environment. Potentially they're doing detox, they're fasting with it, they're doing sauna, they're doing other medicines to prep themselves for the actual journey. It's a process, and it's done with respect and love toward the medicine and toward the earth.
And it's a small part of a bigger program and a bigger picture. It's, from what I understand as well, like it's assisted therapy. Yeah.
I too haven't been called for it.
You haven't?
I have no desire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think, it's so topical right now. Yeah. And it's it's coming up more and more. And I'm just wondering if people are going to think it's going to be this amazing cure to all their trauma, and they're going to have an experience, and then, because we live in such an instant society where we want instant results.
Yeah.
And I guess one of my deep concerns with it is that people think they're going to find it in that. But I think it's a small part of a bigger picture, and I mean, Jake said it really well in terms of, if you were early in sobriety, you would never consider it, but it also has to be enmeshed with vast amounts of recovery work.
And
so
to integrate it, what were we talking about in Sumba about the guru that they gave a bunch of acid to, and he said, it was Neem Karoli Baba when Ram Dass visited him and dosed him with massive amount of LSD, and Neem Karoli Baba it is yogi medicine. Why do you give it to me? Because I enter the room and sit down and have dinner with the Christ, but then I have to leave. I want to stay.
It's like this, and I think that talks about like this stabilized consciousness. So, the different levels of in yogic teaching, and if you're looking at it from the science of yoga, there are these different levels of attainment of consciousness, higher level of consciousness, and there are siddhis, and siddhis are essentially these peripheral powers that you as an advanced being start to cultivate. For instance, being able to psychically read minds, create fire, astrally project and travel, and all these so-called powers which are not to be utilized for selfish means, and they're also just stages which you pass through and don't get stuck in, but people get stuck in them. So this idea of stabilizing the consciousness and not being, I suppose in that sense, what Neem Karoli Baba is saying, he's saying, you can get to that same level of consciousness using meditation. And going back to, and other tools, like going back to recovery, let's just say, I would say, work the 12 steps thoroughly and honestly until the final 12th step, which then tells you to help other people work the 12 steps thoroughly and honestly, which then tells them to help other people. And you don't stop. You continue to help other people. And I think that is the key. If you're in the spirit of service to whatever you want to call it, to man, to brother, to sister, to animals, then that is the secret sauce right there, in my understanding. And so, do you need these powerful, visionary, psychedelic experiences to get you there? Some people may. They may need a kick up the arse. But in recovery, we're talking about people in recovery, I think we tend to be a little bit more off-kilter and mentally deranged. You know what I mean? Especially in the first,
hard to hear.
Especially in the first 10 years, and even 20
first 10 years of sobriety,
maybe even more. So I say that because
Dude,
do
get me started.
Do the indicated steps and use the tools by which to be happy, joyous, and free. Right, and then once you're happy, joyous, and free, and you come to the other side of that on more of a stabilized, you're like on a daily basis, then maybe something like that might be an option. But we're talking about plant medicine again, right?
I know. You just made a comment, especially in the first 10 years. I remember I heard Jerry Lopez said in an interview once, he said, like surfing, takes you about the first 20 years just to work it all out, and then it starts to get good, It's like, but
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours, but Jake, man, there's just so many, really, I don't know where to start with you, to be honest. You've got me overwhelmed. What would you say to someone that says, I can't meditate?
Okay. Well, there's like Kish was saying, man, it's like he paints. Walking meditation, it's a word, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what does it represent? I mean, playing music, when you get out of self, when you get out of self and you get out of your agendas and your thoughtalizations and your intentions even and your plans, that's meditation. Get out of that, and basically suspend. I suppose that's awareness. That's mindfulness. So meditation is the word. It's like when I sit in meditation, and it takes me about 20 minutes to settle down.
Okay. What happens when you sit in meditation and it becomes painful because it's churning up painful things?
I stay seated.
Okay, so would that be your advice to someone that is suffering from that? Because I want to give people some tools and advice here.
Start with 5 minutes. If it's about a seated meditation, get a... Joe Dispenza has many guided meditations, right?
They're amazing.
Even I am...
I can't believe you mentioned that.
I love Joe Dispenza. I do Joe Dispenza's meditations often.
Because he uses that music too that has this frequency, right? Have you done it, Kish?
I haven't, but Jake was turning me on to him when we were in Zumba. My teacher explained to me meditation is the ability to focus the mind's concentration without separation for a period of time.
Okay.
So whatever activity it is, whether you're playing music, right now we're meditating on each other's articulations and not focusing on anything else but, so it's the ability to focus your mind's power and intentions without separation. when people start to do seated meditation and unravel the mind's consciousness, usually, in my experience, is the first part is the thought pattern is either about the past or about the future.
Yeah.
And once you can separate your mind's attention from that stream and look at it not from the river's perspective, but from the shore, watching those thoughts go by, then you have the ability to create space from it. If you have the ability to create space from it, then you have the ability to not be attached to it.
Oh, dude.
Then another form of the mind's power and mind's thought patterns come into play, and you're not, in yogic terms, they call it the monkey mind. So then you put the monkey on a stool and sit it next to you and have it do tricks for you when you want it to. It doesn't control you, you control it.
Right.
And so once that power, it's like a muscle, once you develop it and strengthen it over time, then you have the ability to channel it and direct it and focus it into areas of your life that's more like what Jake was speaking of, the higher levels of our human abilities. And they're seen as mystic powers and that, but it's, to a yogi, it's very natural, it's very normal, you know, these abilities.
Yeah, you just seem like someone that, Kish, that has, you know, you can just tell that you've been living it and breathing it for a long period of your life, and it resonates, like it comes out. Same with you, Jake. One thing I like about Joe Dispenza is his concept of, and I don't know if it's original, but that concept of defining yourself by visions of your future self. I just love that element of it. It just really inspiring.
And I think the idea of keep it simple.
Right.
Once again, and I think Joe Dispenza, he packages up in simple, digestible packets.
Okay.
So you can do a 15-minute meditation on creating gratitude or empowerment or flow. You know, it's a guided meditation. It's simple. It's not complicated. Change your energy. Change your life. You know, how, like you just said, Shannon, you know, how would you walk in the future? How would you feel? What's your energy? And I've been practicing one lately, which is about, you know, so you are grateful. When you're grateful, you've already received.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's this change your change your energy, change your life, change your energy. So where do you focus your energy? And that goes back to this whole pandemic thing for me. Doing a big circle, it's like I can focus absolutely on the negativity and the negative aspects of it, but I choose not to. I'm looking at it as it has been an incredibly powerful learning experience. What I did was I went inside. I started really meditating. I started training. I actually stepped out of, I became the GM of this company, and I moved, and I took all these actions as a result of practicing positive behaviors, which led to more positive behaviors. And then my energy is changing, and the people around me are changing. So, you know, keeping it simple, once again, when you're talking about anyone who's listening who's having a hard time, it's like, if you're in recovery or not, whatever you're, you know, wherever you're at in life, it's like the simple stuff, you know what I mean? We choose every day who to talk to, what to read, what to plug in on our Instagram feed, all of that stuff. I'm saying stuff that everyone knows. And then also the self-discipline of spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, going to the gym, like, you know, getting your testosterone up, moving your body, you know, then going and doing these biohacking things, eating clean, surfing.
I noticed, like, I said this to Kish yesterday when I seen him, both of you, like, just look so fit.
You're pretty fit too right now, Shannon.
Yeah, because
looking tight.
Healthy body, healthy mind, you know. So much power comes from a strong body. And my spirit grows when my body's strong, and as does my mind. I work off that. But and Kish and I were talking about it. The pandemic highlighted this for me, that health is wealth. It really, really is, you know. You speak to someone who's terminally ill, which I have, and they would give any amount of money for their strength and their health. And that was the big lesson I learnt through the pandemic. I got sick. I had, in the last couple of years, we had numerous deaths in my life, people dying around me. Not from COVID, from things. I don't want to go into it, but it just really reinforced that, for me, keeping it simple meant getting my body as strong as possible. Yeah. And as a byproduct of that, I felt like my mind got stronger as well, and my spirit and my emotions, and my testosterone levels went up.
We're so blessed,
Yeah.
We're so blessed with the option to be able to choose health.
Yeah.
Speaking of people in different situations where they don't have the option of what food they can put on their table. So since we are blessed with this option, why not choose what we feel is the most optimal thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like you acknowledge the privilege that you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the blessings, not a privilege, the blessings.
The blessing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm learning so much from you too.
Because I feel that that this could be a contentious issue, but the idea
Let's
of
go.
if we choose our birth, then we choose all the surrounding environment around it. We choose all the lessons. So you might be born into poverty in a famine-ravaged nation, and you might die as you're born, and that's a lesson.
Gotcha.
And we have choices, and people can rise out of that consciousness and elevate. There are people who are in prison on death row who are enlightened.
Yeah.
They've had that experience as a result of that.
Yeah.
So I've constantly got to suspend judgment in that, and it's easier said than done.
It is. It's practice.
Yeah.
It's a journey. And the first 10 years it'll take you because I'm 9 years sober.
Perfect.
And I'm going to be. I'm getting more comfortable with being open about that. But it's been the hardest 9 years of my life. It's been raw. Like it's brought things to the surface that I've had to sift through and and face up to. And it's been terrifying. And it's so good doing it live with
But
people.
how do you feel now?
It's only been in the last few months that I feel the best I've ever felt. But, it almost killed me. I had some of the worst things happen to me in sobriety, things that were worse than when I was drinking and using drugs. And that was really hard for me to deal with because I was like, well, hang on. I got sober to make my life better. It's getting fucking worse.
Yeah.
But then friends in the program have highlighted to me that it's this clearing, this detoxing. I guess sometimes I think about it and wish that I started the journey earlier. And I want to hear about with Jake and he had that realization earlier. And I really I won't say envy it. I admire it. So how you guys feeling? We tired? You hungry?
I feel good, man. I feel really good.
Yeah.
We could, definitely peckish.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
But that being said, I think we could probably talk all night long.
I think
at this
it
point.
finds you. I think it finds you at the right time in the right space. To
What's that?
sobriety and not just sobriety but consciousness. And like we were saying about the choice and to choose. To have the choice to take the choice of consciousness versus numbing. To feel and whatever that feeling brings into you, to go through that, it's a choice. You could easily at any time numb it. There's so many different options for numbing these days, but in order to feel, it takes a vulnerability. It takes what is an illusion as work, and that stuff, but really it's an opportunity.
It is. It is, man.
And to feel, is a, it's a heavy. It can feel overwhelming. How much can one structure or body, or spirit or soul possibly feel?
Yeah.
Before you crack or before you go.
You said something earlier today that I loved, and I've been practicing it. I struggle with it, but when an uncomfortable feeling comes up now, I really sit in it, and let it go through me.
Yeah.
I don't try to struggle or resist it at all. If anger comes out, I don't act on it, but I just let it go through me and I absorb it. And it's amazing how much more quickly it passes as opposed to when you fight against it.
Yeah.
And that analogy you used today of you fight against the current, you fight against the rapids.
Yeah.
You're going to burn out and you're going to get exhausted. But if you go with the current and the rapids, you always end up in calmer water.
Yeah.
Love that, dude.
There's storms that come in, and I feel like the more you sit with your own feelings, you can see these storms come in over the horizon, and you know when to batten down the hatches, when to put the raincoat off, when to go out in the rain and dance, when how to adjust accordingly, and you don't put yourself in situations to feel that kind of stuff, you know, if it makes you feel not good.
Yeah.
You know, and why would you go into that if right on the other side is all flow, all good, you know, all stoke? For me, it's just like stay in that, and then there's no need to go anywhere else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And so when we talk about like the context of recovery, you know, the practical application of solution in our lives, and it's been proven time and time again by our predecessors or people who've walked this path before us and have, you know, left the keys on the path and the information through whatever you want to call it, through word of mouth, sponsorship. Obviously, there's a basic text that we use. That this concept of, you know, coming full circle back to being of service.
You've mentioned that time and time again, and for someone who has the length of sobriety you've had, it must work.
It works.
and you think it's the fundamental.
That is the key.
That's the key.
That's the key. When you get out of self. So if you have sexual issues, when you get out of yourself and help other people, they will wane. They will lessen.
Interesting.
When you have anger issues, you know, there's tools by which we talk about that work.
Gotcha.
You know, and prayer and meditation. You know, the steps are in order for a reason. So going back to this idea of like it takes time. It takes time to uncover, discover, discard, and the beauty of it for us is it is a day at a time.
Yeah.
And every single day I have a choice, you have a choice, and shit comes up in the day, of course, and there are some weeks and months that suck, but the reality is we change, and I think for me my perspective is different. My perspective on how I view everything as a result of working steps.
Wow, man.
You know, and I feel that, I'll say it again, that's the key. The 12 step that is the key of getting out of self.
Right, but what about someone who's really struggling with their recovery and they can't get to step 12? They get to step 4 and 5 and they can't make that list, and they can't face up to some truths, and they can't write out their resentments, and it's too painful for them. And what can they skip to the service part?
Absolutely.
They can?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, there's no reason. I mean,
let's send that message out there, because I guess I sort of knew the answer to that question, but
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not on any pedestal, or I'm not a saint in any stretch of the imagination.
No, I know, that's what I love about you.
And the reality is that I've made way more mistakes in my recovery than I ever did when I was actively a maniac. And I've created a lot more wreckage in the present than I ever did in the past, and I know that, you know, my keys to happiness and my keys to being happy, joyous, and free are getting out of self.
Yes.
How do you get out of self? And it's laid out for us. Do the 12 steps, because I was told the elevator's broken. Take the steps.
Okay, give us an example, like, because, you know, like, I think we should start wrapping it up soon, but give us an example of being of service. Go. Give us a practical example someone could do on a base level.
In recovery, having a sponsor and having a sponsee, helping someone through the book, through the steps.
And I'm breaking it right down. Like, a sponsee may be a bit overwhelming for some people. This is a relationship with someone where you share and identify.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you basically are
a
mentor.
A confidant.
You have a mentor, and you are a mentor. That's the easiest words. Confidant, somebody you can help. And it's not like they need to ask you. You can tell them, I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your sponsor, or I'm going to be your friend. Whatever it is, I'm going to help you because I'm 3 days more sober than you.
Okay.
We're talking about in recovery, right? Once again, like that, it's a pretty it's a very specialized topic.
But break it. You know, I'm not in recovery, but I'm sober from drinking of 6 years. You know, so but for me, being of service is take it on the simplicity of what needs to be done throughout your day. You know, the person that dropped their purse, you know, you pick it up for them and you give it to them. You know, the person that needs help carrying the box, you take it. And you know, throughout our day, we're constantly asked to be of service, you know.
Totally.
I suppose it's the mentality, it's the perspective of how am I of ultimate use how can you use me to be of ultimate use? You know, whatever you want to say about that, whether it's doing the dishes, taking the dog for a walk,
Exactly.
not being, you know, just
It sounds like being a good husband.
and father and employee and employer and friend
yeah.
and all of it. And you know, like you said, Shannon, we see the path becomes narrower. You saw someone tonight who you want to make an amends to.
No.
I had the experience
What
the other
a
day.
trip that is, by the way.
And that's the way it happens. It's like, do you have the opportunity to clean
Can't get over it.
and move past it? And
you guys didn't realize I had to fucking walk over there and just go, because I just went, boop, 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 my brain just went, boop, 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 or the code matched, went,
that's the guy.
yeah.
And he was sitting right here with us. Great.
That's a good
It's
thing.
like that happened to me twice today.
But see how painful it is?
Twice.
Bullshit.
It did, and I chose.
You're an overachiever.
I chose to feel it and not react and
Yeah.
go into it when I keep running into this person, you know.
That's
And I need.
crazy.
There's some unspoken things that need to be said. There's some wrongdoings that are felt, and I need to do it. But the thing is, like, there's an illusion as if we don't have time. You know, and I feel like time is on our side. It's not working against us. You know,
That's
so-
interesting because I'm always like, time's our most precious commodity. I can't waste a second.
No.
You think I got to chill a bit.
But I believe that, you know, we have lifetimes to work these things out.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all
Do I want to be free or do I want to be right?
Yeah, I love that.
You know?
But the ego wants us to be right.
Always. But then you do take the higher path and the benefits are infinite.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. It's like, why do we not want to pay people back money we owe? As an example, like, you know, because we're afraid that there's not enough. But the reality is when you open that and you open yourself to that, infinite abundance comes. But you have to experience it to know. I mean, you know, I'm not like infinitely abundant in any stretch of the imagination, but in many ways I am. But like, for instance, like the 9th step in recovery, you make amends to all people.
Yeah.
And some of them you can't, like you're saying, you know, that's either too painful but it is part of the process of getting right with self.
What's the
and
journey?
being free.
It's the journey. It's the journey. And I
takes
think,
time.
like, listening to amazing humans such as you two who are on the path, like we're having these conversations, but let's say we reflect on my situation that happened earlier. Again, like there's the old Shannon who would have not been aware of that.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, like, you have this heightened awareness. And I do in my sobriety have moments of like, and it's beautiful, but it's constantly painful, and it's like I have to be accountable. And then Jake summed me up straight away. He's like, "You got to make amends, man. This is how it is. Like, you know this." I'm like, "Yeah, God damn, I don't want to hear that. I know it's the right thing to do." And then I sometimes think, was ignorance bliss? Is ignorance the better way to go? I don't know.
Not if
You don't have to be
feel
accountable.
it, you know,
but then
if
Jake
you
said
feel
it's
it, yeah.
infinite. You get this infinite abundance.
And then through that is the freedom. On the other side of that is the freedom. The other side of it is like, why do I not do yoga? It makes me feel good. I love it. You know, it's good for the body. It's good for the mind. It's good for the soul. But it takes discipline.
Yeah.
It's like, I train. I get up in the morning. I don't want to go to training. Or you go to a meeting. I don't want to go to a meeting today. But when you do it, you know the other side of it. It's like,
feel great.
oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm part of something. I'm connected
Yeah.
to myself, to other people.
Yes.
And there's freedom on the other side. That's the way we need to look at it, in the sense of, no, it's not, I'm not this is not going to restrict me. This is going to open me up.
Yes.
This is going to crack me more open.
Dude.
And there's freedom on the other side. That idea, look, through this, I get self-esteem
Yes.
as well.
As well.
You know.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast?
I think you're doing a great job, bro.
No. I don't know, man. Like, you speak so well. And you articulate ideas and concepts in a way that's easy to understand. I don't know, man.
It's such a cool platform, you know.
You think so?
It is. I think, you know.
It's always spoke to me. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're, you know, it is a great platform, and you do it very well too, Shannon.
Oh,
And
thanks, man.
It's really nice to connect in live person with you and Kish right now in Drifter, and to
I
have this
know.
experience tonight, Saturday night.
You know what
Yes.
came to me? I had before I left Australia, I just went, imagine getting those two in Drifter together. Like, it just maybe God spoke to me, but I'm so glad that we made it happen.
Yeah.
And there is some power, Jake, to this in-person thing. Like during the pandemic, had to do a lot of remote ones online, and they just, don't get me wrong, you two are great online as well, but it's just not the same. Like I'm feeling the energy.
There's eye contact, you know.
Yeah.
There's spirit. You know.
Yeah, we're in each other's frequency field.
Yeah.
We're kind of sharing the space. We're sharing space, and
You know, it's funny.
we're grokking.
I said frequency to a friend the other day. He goes, "Oh, that's some hippie bullshit." And I said, "Like, do you listen to the radio?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, dude, their frequency, their vibrations, it's all around us.
And
but
it's
then
been-
people won't acknowledge that it can be transmuted by a
The
human.
interesting thing is, you know, the radio is being broadcasted whether you tune in or not. You know, if you dial your knob into the music, you know, it's still out there in the ethers, you know, in the frequency. So it's such an honor to be sitting here with you in time and space, you know, both of you.
Bro, you know, I feel the same.
Yeah.
And you said earlier today, go, man, I feel like you put me on a pedestal. I was like, dude, when I like someone, I like people.
Yeah.
But then if I don't like someone, and this is one of my defects of character, man, I'll go the other way. I'm like,
Yeah.
get away from me.
Yeah.
And I'll ice them out so hard.
Yeah.
It's such a defect.
Yeah, and there's something in there, you know, go in there next time and you know, bring them into the frequency and see how you vibe, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been epic, and I think we all need to eat. But Jake, I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. It can be a charity, it can be a social enterprise, or it can just be a philosophy of some kind. Have you got something for us today?
Yeah, definitely. My personal fund for surf travel. Sorry.
That's religion.
Let me, cloak it in some other device. No, thanks, Shannon, for asking. But yeah, we did a really, really cool event around Christmas last year with this orphanage called the Chloe Orphanage, right? And Father Victor, or the Pastor Victor, he's adopted 19 kids. I believe it's 19.
Stop it.
And he's basically, they're Eastern Tenggara, so East. So it's a Christian orphanage, because in Indonesia you have to designate what kind of orphanage, if it's Hindu or Islamic. Or Christian.
Yeah.
So I'm wanting to do more stuff with those guys. Like we did a Christmas Carol event here at Drifter with them,
Right.
with these kids, and they sang so beautifully. Seriously, I was like, heartrending.
Yes.
So I want to do more with them this year. So I'm looking for ideas, as well as ideas and energy to do something with them. He was wanting to do some kind of event to help them pay for the orphanage for the costs. There's 19 kids, and he's a Victor. He's a pastor. So that would be right now would be my personal.
What's it called again?
It's Chloe. The orphanage is called the Chloe. I can give you more information.
That's okay. So I'll find a link to that, and if you scroll down in this episode show notes, you'll find a link to Chloe Orphanage.
Yeah.
And get on their website or any of their platforms and see how you can be of service. Maybe donating money is always a good option, but I believe that if you can donate your time and energy, that's always better. So thanks for sharing that one, and you can find this episode on terriblehappytalks.com, and also all of the major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. But whatever platform you like to listen on, it always helps if you subscribe and leave a review. It just helps me to continue having rad conversations weekly with rad humans such as Jake Mackenzie and Kristyan Stjerne. Thank you, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yeah,
dudes.
man. God
I love
bless
this. Yes, let's go and get some burritos.